Hello everybody, this is Carlos once again with CHS Electronics. I have a different video for you today. Today it's still pertaining to the PIC18F67K40 Development board, but it has to deal more with the boards that I ordered, the new boards that I ordered from Seedstudio. So this is going to be a partial Seedstudio PCB review and a description of these new boards that have been made smaller and cheaper and hopefully more attractive. So as you can see on the front here, we have 4 different colors. We have the red, the white, the blue, and the yellow, and they're all the same circuit. It's the same identical circuit. It's just that I ordered them in 4 different colors, and I think they're actually pretty nice. And these came from Seedstudio or Fusion PCB, and they're actually pretty good. They I don't notice any difference between JLPCB, or I don't notice any difference from PCBWay, which is one of my top favorites. Although JLPCB is much cheaper, but I don't like that you have to pay extra for color. I'd rather just pay it all up front, $5 for any color I choose, other than having to pay extra for a different color like JLPCB does. But Seedstudio or Fusion PCB, I believe they allowed you to choose any color, so that's why I was able to get 4 colors of the same board to see if anybody likes the way they look. I think these look pretty good. JLPCB makes some pretty good boards. I haven't seen any problems or any discrepancies with what they use or the materials they use. So I think Seedstudio is a good alternative to PCBWay or JLPCB if you don't want to pay extra for choosing a different color for your board. So anyways, these are the new boards. So these are actually a cheaper version of the original large board. As everybody remembers, here's the original larger board. So these are smaller, these are cheaper, these are easier to handle, I guess, and they're mainly for more tight constricted spaces that you don't have enough space to put everything on. Now they still come with their with the 8 LEDs, with the 8 relays, and they still have the 8 LEDs. And as you can see down here, I still have the Bluetooth module, the HC05, not the 06. I still have the footprint on it, but I also incorporated a 6-pin SIP Bluetooth module header for it in the event that somebody just wants to add an HC06 version type on a 6-pin and just plug it in there and not have to worry about using the bigger footprint. Of course, the NRF radio footprint is still here, and I fixed the issue that I was missing a wire that was going to the 5 to 3 volt level translator, but so it's taken care of on this one. So I've also made some changes to the mask. As you can see, I've labeled the ports digital port E, where you can have digital outputs, or digital port F, or digital port A, and interrupt on change port C. And on this end is the actual well, I guess that doesn't look very good, but on this side is where I put the analog port, and I kind of just put it on its side and just left it there and made it so that it doesn't kind of get in the way of these. So if you look through the back side, here's where the analog ports, and they're kind of isolated, and I try to keep them away from digital signals so as to not cause any noise or any problems with it. also I've included just a single header for 12 volts output, 3 volts output, 3.3 volts, a ground, my potentiometer output under the VAR, and the 5 volts. So that way, if you don't need all 8 pins of 5 volts or all 8 pins of ground or all 8 pins of 12 volts, you can just use a single one, and you can bring it out to a header yourself or to multiple taps if you needed to do that on your own. So what changed also on it is that I used a smaller reset button. Instead of, I'm using a 2-pin instead of a 4-pin as in the old model, and the voltage regulators went down from 3 amps, from a 3 amp regulator to a 5 amp. So you still have the 5 volt regulator and a 3.3 volt regulator. Now we're still using the TM1620 to drive the 7-second displays, but I went ahead and went with the smaller version of the 7-second displays so that I can make everything fit a little bit more compact. Now up here we have the cylindrical fuses, which I replaced it to just one fuse and not having to use 2. So if anything blows on a 12 volt line, then you know your fuse is gone. You have a fuse, a red fuse, red LED up here to say that you have a bad fuse, and then you still have your LEDs down here to indicate that you have power going to the 5 volt and the 3 volt. Now if you've noticed, these components are actually smaller. These are 0602s instead of using 0805s, so I went to a smaller size component so that I can make everything fit and make it a little neater and more compact. So you still have your 3 volt out, your 3-pin output for the relays. Now you don't have to use the screw type terminals that I use. You can use pin headers, male or female, or you can just solder wire directly if that's your choice. So really it's up to you. So you have great versatility in this board. Also, I've included 4 mounting holes in this case. So it's got 4 mounting holes, and I don't think, well, in the other version, let me show you on the old version, it was just I only had 2 mounting holes, and that's because I was limited in space. So there's only 2. So here's my standoffs, male and female standoffs. So that was an issue with that one, that I only had two mounting holes, but other than that, that's okay. I think these are much better boards. These are much more compact. This should be easier to work with and easier to plug into whatever you need to do. Now let's talk about the schematic. So give me a second here and I will set up the schematic. Okay, so we're back here with the schematic and the board layout on the computer. The layout is obviously a little different, but let me show you. Here's where I was talking about that. Here's the original Bluetooth module, and here is the footprint for the new 6-pin Bluetooth module. If for those that like to keep it simpler and just use HC06 type. Mind you, you have to remember the HC05, you can use it as a master or a slave, but this HC06 versions you could only use as a slave. So we still have our 2.4 gigahertz radio. We still have our level shifter, which I forgot to I forgot to include the chip select on the last one, so in this case it's there, and so we're good to go. So here's the differences in the schematic as far as the fusing and power goes. So in this case I just use one fuse that fuses everything, and it's up here, and I have a bad fuse LED. Whenever the fuse blows, if the fuse blows, this red LED will turn on, and here's a schematic for that. And so I split the 2 voltages and I feed them straight out the 5 volt regulator, and the 3.3 volt regulator. So as far as the processor or the microcontroller, it's still the same, the PIC18F67K40. And in this case, the only other difference as far as the 5 volt and 12 volt outputs, I include I still have the potentiometer, but I only send the 5 volts out of one line on one pin, and the varying potentiometer output voltage, I send it out on one pin as well, and then ground only on one pin, which there it is. Well, here's the ground. And then also I send out the 3 volt, 3.3 volts, sorry, and the 12 volt. So I've limited that to one pin per voltage, but it seems to be okay if you want to just bring that out to a different to more pins through a different header, or from 1 to 8 type header, something that will allow you to like what do you call those, a barrier strip. If you want to just bring that one pin out to a barrier strip, and then you tie everything off on that barrier strip. So we're still using the FT232RL for the USB, and we're still using the 1620 TM1620 for the display driver, but we're using smaller LED displays so that I can make everything fit once again. So the relay outputs are still the same, relays are still the same, the shift registers are still the same, and the LED banks are still the same, although I put them up here in this case. I kind of snuck them out of the way there, and which was probably the only place I could put them, because I didn't have very much room. I probably could have had more room if I went with a 4-layer board, but going to 4-layer board raises the cost dramatically, so I didn't want to go there. And then of course you have your mounting holes. So that's it for this video. I mean, the the schematic is again simple enough. I've realized a lot of people probably don't use these type of programming headers, but these don't have to be soldered on there. You can just tie it to the wires directly yourself. And as you can see, you could even probably program it from port B analog, the analog port, before it's set to port B. So there's multiple ways of getting to the programming port without having to use one of these. But if you guys like one of these, like using these things, it's very simple to convert one of these type RJ11s, RJ45s, can't remember which one it is, to convert it into the programming adapter that you need for your particular programmer. I like using these because these are kept simple and straight. There's no error in plugging them when you plug it in. If you use a inline SIP header or a single SIP header, you know, with 5 pins, 6 pins, it's possible to connect it the wrong way and cause damage to your PIC. Doing it this way, I know there's no way that I can plug it in backwards, unless of course I made my adapter backwards, but that's usually never the case, since now you only have to make it once, and once it's made and it works, then you know you're good to go for the rest of your stuff. So anyways, here's the board layout again. This is the 5th revision of this board, and I think this is probably going to be the final revision, unless of course I start to include other features. For example, if I remove the relays and include other parts, or if I remove the Bluetooth and I include Ethernet, an Ethernet port, or remove the NRF radio and go with something a little more powerful. So you know, you can replace this radio with a microchip MRF radio themselves, that they make themselves, and you know, you probably get some better distance out of it as well. But anyways, like to thank you again for you guys sticking around and watching this video, and I hope you guys found it interesting. And if you guys liked what you saw, please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so that you guys can get updates as to, or reminders that I have a new video out, and so that you guys can watch it. If you guys have any suggestions on the type of content that you guys wish to see, or if you guys need to see, if you want to see something different, go ahead and shoot me any ideas of anything you guys want to see, and the one that I find that I can do or that's most interesting, I'll be sure to make a video about it. Thanks again for stopping by, and I suggest you guys try Seedstudio for once. I'm pretty sure you guys will like it. I know I did, and I was very happy with the boards. Again, thank you very much, and see you guys on the next video.